You are having a perfectly fine day. Nothing is wrong. Nothing bad is happening. And yet somewhere underneath the ordinary surface of things, there is a hum. A low-grade tension that you cannot quite name. A vague sense that something is off, or about to be. Not a specific fear. Not a concrete worry. Just a generalized readiness for things to go wrong, a background feeling that the good cannot last, that somewhere around a corner you cannot see, something bad is coming. You know this feeling. Almost everyone does. And if you have ever wondered why, the answer goes somewhere that most people do not expect. The feeling is not irrational. It is not a disorder, though it can become one. It is not a sign of weakness or pessimism. It is the output of a threat detection system that has been running in human brains for hundreds of thousands of years, a system that was designed not for the world you live in but for the world your ancestors survived. And it has a specific neurological name, a specific evolutionary logic, and a specific reason it is so much harder to turn off than to turn on. The starting point is the amygdala. This small, almond-shaped structure deep in the brain is your threat detection system. It monitors incoming information for signs of danger, real or potential, certain or ambiguous. And here is the critical thing, it is calibrated strongly toward false positives. It is far better to activate unnecessarily, to treat a safe situation as dangerous, than to fail to activate when a genuinely dangerous situation presents itself. The cost of a false positive is a momentary state of unnecessary alertness. The cost of a false negative, in the environment where this system evolved, was death. This asymmetry means your threat detection system is always looking for something to worry about. When it finds a clear, specific threat, it responds to that threat. But when no specific threat is present, the system does not simply turn off. It scans. It maintains a level of readiness. It keeps the alarm at a low level just in case. And that low-level alarm is what you experience as a vague sense that something bad might be about to happen. Neuroscientist Joseph LeDoux at New York University, whose work on the amygdala and fear has shaped modern understanding of how the brain processes threat, has documented that the amygdala receives information faster than the conscious mind can process it. It reacts to ambiguous signals before you have had time to consciously evaluate whether those signals represent actual danger. The feeling of anxiety often precedes its explanation. You feel uneasy before you know what you are uneasy about. And then your brain searches for a reason, a process that can easily produce a list of candidates that amplifies rather than resolves the original unease. There is also a concept in psychology called anxiety sensitivity, studied extensively by researchers including Stephen Rice at Ohio State University. Anxiety sensitivity refers to the tendency to fear the sensations of anxiety themselves. People with high anxiety sensitivity notice their racing heart, their shallow breath, their slight tension, and interpret these bodily signals as evidence that something is wrong. Which produces more anxiety? Which produces more physical sensations? Which produces more interpretation of danger? The cycle is self-reinforcing, and it is driven by the brain misreading the output of its own alarm system as additional input from the environment. But the evolutionary logic runs even deeper than the amygdala. Psychologist Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania, whose work on learned helplessness and positive psychology has been enormously influential, proposed a concept called preparedness theory. The human brain, he argued, is biologically prepared to fear certain categories of threat more easily than others. Heights, snakes, strangers, darkness, enclosed spaces, social rejection. These are the fears that appeared reliably in human ancestral environments, and the brain learned to associate neutral stimuli with these threats more quickly and to extinguish those associations more slowly than associations with neutral experiences. The threat learning system is biased toward remembering. The safety learning system is biased toward forgetting. This asymmetry has a profound effect on your moment-to-moment experience of the world. Good news is processed quickly and released. Good experiences fade. The positive recedes into the background of ordinary life and becomes the baseline you take for granted. Bad news, by contrast, is processed deeply, encoded strongly, and held. The bad things you have experienced, the near misses, the losses, the humiliations, the betrayals, they leave a disproportionately thick trace in memory. And that thick trace shapes your anticipation of the future. Your brain is modeling tomorrow based on a memory system that has systematically overweighed the bad. The result is that the baseline emotional state for many people, the state you return to when nothing specific is happening, is not neutral. It is slightly anxious, slightly alert, slightly ready for things to go wrong. Because the system that generates that state was optimized for survival in an environment where things going wrong was always a genuine possibility, and where the cost of being caught unprepared was catastrophic. Researcher Graham Davey at the University of Sussex, who has spent decades studying worry and its relationship to anxiety, has found that worry is not simply a response to threatening situations. It is a cognitive strategy, a way of mentally preparing for uncertain negative outcomes by pre-living them. The worrying mind is trying to anticipate and solve problems before they occur. It is doing something it genuinely believes is useful. The trouble is that for most of the uncertain negative outcomes the modern mind worries about, pre-living them provides no actual benefit. You cannot prevent a difficult conversation by worrying about it. You cannot solve a future uncertainty by running the scenario repeatedly. But the brain does not know this, because the scanning and anticipating function evolved in an environment where pre-planning genuinely helped. And then there is the role of modern information. Your ancestral threat detection system evolved to process information about the immediate physical environment. The threats it was calibrated for were local, visible, and bounded. There was a predator or there was not. The stranger was approaching or they were not. The weather was threatening or it was not. Now the same system is processing a global, digital, continuous stream of information specifically curated to carry threat signals, because threat signals are what generate attention, clicks, and engagement. Your amygdala is processing news from 3,000 miles away as if it were news from the next valley. It cannot distinguish distance. It cannot distinguish probability. It registers the signal and responds. The cumulative effect of all of this is a background hum of threat readiness that most people carry almost constantly. Not acute fear. Not specific worry. Just a quiet, persistent sense that the world is more dangerous and less stable than it actually is for most people in most circumstances. A readiness for things to go wrong that exists even when nothing is going wrong. Understanding this does not make the feeling go away. But it changes its meaning. The hum is not a message. It is not accurate information about your future. It is the output of a surveillance system calibrated for a world that no longer exists, running continuously in a world it was not built for. The feeling that something bad is about to happen is not a prediction. It is a feature of the hardware. And knowing that, really knowing it, gives you something you did not have before, the ability to hear the alarm without assuming the building is on fire. You are having a perfectly fine day. Nothing is wrong. And the hum is still there. Now you know what it is.